All right, what's poppin', party people? We are back with another episode. You thought it was just a one-hitter quitter with the Crawford to Canelo, but we had to come back and build out the momentum. We had to give Coach Davis flowers. Well, before we do
Uh-oh.
that, let's introduce all of the players, particularly for tonight. Um, I got Boston Jared. Don't forget the S. Coach Dave.
Oof.
We are Sans, the Casual Ran, and I am Professor Nims, and we make up the pundits of pugilism. So tonight, we're going to just jump right into it and give a reaction to the fight of the decade, fight of the century. We can kind of establish that fight of the who is the generational talent or the number one kind of fighter of this generation. So, with that said, let's go ahead. I want to remind them that all of the pundits picked, except for Coach Dave, had picked Canelo. Some by knockout, some by decisions and all that. Coach had a clear win for Bud Crawford, and that's what we saw during that fight. So, Coach, give us your reaction and tell us, did things kind of unpack the way that you saw it? Was there anything that kind of surprised you?
Um, nothing surprised me at all. And the only thing that caught me off guard, uh, in that show, I had talked about, everybody's worrying about the bigger man beating on the guy's arms and the shoulders. And I had kind of mentioned, I said, hey, remember how Muhammad Ali took all that, he just covered up, had good defense from George Foreman. And then I talked about a mixture of Mayweather just boxing. So that happened, but it didn't happen with with Crawford ropes on his back on the ropes. Crawford stood right there in the middle of the ring in the pocket, was defensively responsible, and was catching that stuff. So and Canelo just swinging and well. Now what Crawford did that to me even Ali didn't do is did you see those he Canelo, when he would dig that one body shot, and Crawford put about 4, 5 of them of them twins up on that joker and then finished up to the body. As to where Muhammad Ali just laid on the ropes, let George Foreman time himself out. So this guy was just selectively, strategically, tactfully aggressive, you know, and he just showed superior boxing skills. And the only thing that I say, man, is come hell or high waters, the sport is called boxing for a reason. You're going to have some great fighters. Everybody ain't a great boxer. And in every blue moon, you find somebody that's a mixture of both. Great fighter and an incredible boxer. And I think, people gonna still find excuses, but this cat Crawford, he's always been that. He's always been that. That's why I just been on the boat with that guy, man. And to me, it just it was just beautiful to see boxing. And that's the name of the sport, man. It is the sweet science, man. It is called the sweet science for a reason, bro. And that's what he did, man. So I'll just leave it at that, man. I just because the fighting of itself says way more than anything that I could do. People saw what they saw. I wish Casual Rand was here though, because when I was given my who won what rounds, and for the record, I scored the fight. Actually, I had it 118 to 113. I literally had Crawford winning 7 rounds decisively. I had Canelo winning 2 rounds decisively. And to be honest with you and me, there were 3 rounds I thought was pretty close. And because I honestly couldn't go back, I just said, you know what? I'm giving both the benefit of the doubts. I had 3 rounds as a draw. And my score came out at 118 to 113. Kind of more so in line of the 116 to 112 card. I just kind of still had a. I had a they had a 4 point spread. I had it by 5, 118, 113. So that
Frowned
first
upon
judge, I
though, isn't
think,
it?
got it right.
Isn't that isn't it supposed to be? I mean, you can give an even round, but I've never seen a judge with three even rounds. They're gonna look at you crazy with those scorecards, aren't they? Don't they
Well,
normally?
I don't know if they're gonna look at me crazy, man. But the thing about it is how I see the fight.
I agree. I
It's
agree because
and
I
that,
give out even rounds, and people
yeah,
criticize. People give me
yeah,
shit for giving out even rounds. I give
yeah,
out even rounds too.
yeah. And honestly, bro, I just don't. And I try to be as fair as I. If it's not decisive to me, if I can't tell who hit with the clear shot, if I can't tell who was the most aggressive, in that round, who even tried the most to be aggressive, whether they was effective or not, but he was trying. If I can't, all the things that's used to judge, if I can't see it, like for me, right, all them like the early rounds. When they filling each other out in the first round, I'm telling you, man, if you filling each other out and you ain't trying to establish that, I'm making it a draw because it's like, dude, come on.
But you remember, you got other scoring criteria. But yeah,
Yeah,
okay, fair enough.
there's
Fair enough.
range and receipt, there's defense, and
They
don't
are
like you
punching
say
effective
there
aggression.
are some. I've seen one. I don't think I've seen multiple even rounds, and particularly it is hard to score a round, and a judge is kind of paid to kind of be able to make those tough decisions. Max Kellerman, who I was a big fan of, I'm not now. He's kind of turned into a shield for TKO and all this other stuff. He does think bring some pretty good analysis, and his scoring criteria would always be out of each of those fighters, like which one who would I had rather been within that round.
Yeah, that's Max Kellerman. Yeah, nah, that's not the way you that's not the way you score a fight. Yeah, that's yeah. I
But
always thought
I do
casual.
use it, man. I use all that stuff, but see, to me, and this might just be my analytics side. You know, it's hard for me to put defense when you're just filling each other out and you ain't got nothing to be defensive about. So you can think about the whole things that
Yeah.
scores and what nullifies what. So that's why I'm telling you, I look at it from a holistic perspective. There's no way I can judge defensive round and all you're doing is filling each other out.
Did
Uh,
anybody have 115, 113? Because two judges had that shit 115, 113. And I thought to
Now
myself, man, they try to rob this
they
kid.
they try, if he didn't run away with it in them last couple of no no them
It'd have been a
championship
draw or
rounds,
some shit like that.
yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
said they still try. He beat this motherfucker, and they still tried to rob him.
yeah, man,
I couldn't believe it was 115, 113. The
yeah,
118, the 116, 112, that I think was much more reasonable. And I know it's just a round difference, but I think I thought the 116, 112, that might have been Steve Weisfeld who had that. 116, 112 was kind. I had Canelo winning about 3 rounds. I went again, I watched it again yesterday. I said, man, I'm really being nice if I give this kid 4 rounds. I'm really being nice if I give him 4 rounds. That was
yeah,
just me.
yeah.
I gave him. I didn't necessarily score it, but I don't see 4 rounds is crazy. I thought it was pretty close until the last kind of quarter of the fight, and I thought Canelo really, I mean Crawford really asserted himself and kind of showed his mastery in the ring. Um, so before we go on to what's next, Boston Jared, was there anything that kind of surprised you in that fight?
Everything. I mean, if you listen to my breakdown, everything surprised me. I didn't think he took a couple of what looked to me, and this is in slow motion, obviously, what looked to me to be a couple of clean, straight right hands. And he needs to, if Crawford's going to continue to box professionally at higher weights, he's got to figure out a way to get not getting hit with that straight right hand. That's been the bane of his existence the last 2 fights. But yeah, more so than his ability to take those shots from Canelo was his ability to move. He moved with 170 plus pounds of extra weight on his body, the same way he moved at 140 with whatever, 150 pounds on his body. He moved against Canelo the same way he moved against Victor Postol. And that I kept telling my man who I was with, I said, man, he's moving a lot. He's moving a lot. And this is like towards the middle of the fight. I said, man, he's moving a lot, man. Especially when Canelo did a decent job at times of cutting the ring off. And
Yeah.
Canelo and Crawford was kind of in the corner, bouncing side to side, posture and shit. I said, man, he's moving a lot. I hope he's not flat-footed by the end of this fight, but he was not, man. I mean, the volume never stopped, the movement never stopped. He fought as a super middleweight the same way he did as a junior welterweight. That that is what surprised me the most, more
Do
so
you
than him
understand why? Do you understand why that happened?
why he was able to move it all that extra weight
Yep.
on it.
Yep.
Beyond him being physically very gifted, no, I don't know. Beyond that, no.
Let me give it to you. Let me explain something to you again, bro. In boxing, man, you know. So, and I had to say this. I had the same conversation with my strength and conditioning coach. You know, because it kind of caught him off guard too. Where I don't think it really should have. What you got to understand, bro, is that all fighters, man, all fighters, they have this thing what we literally call walking around weight.
Oh, okay, yeah, yeah,
Now, what you got to understand, and where this all comes from. Remember, going back to the history, George Foreman said, "Man, I really love fighting at heavyweight because I don't have to cut weight. All I got to
yeah.
do is just be in shape." And see, Crawford may fight at 140, but he's cutting weight. And I kept telling somebody, I don't even know if it was I was talking with y'all. The dude ain't cutting weight. He can be fighting at his natural walking around weight. He just got to stay in shape and be able to move that weight.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
when he take a good dookie, sweat a little bit, this man might be fighting at 173 pounds. His walking around weight ain't 140, 145, bro.
Yeah. Of course not. Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
why that's what I'm telling you is that he was fighting at just a regular, in shape, his natural walking around weight, man. And that's part of the reason by that, bro. Of course,
And
he was
he
in
was
incredible shape.
probably sparring 15 rounds with the additional weight on too. So he obviously he prepared for it. So
Yeah.
yes,
He don't
beyond what you're
ever
saying, yeah,
spar
no.
lighter fighters though. Terrence Crawford, because of his strength, he never spars lighter fighters, bro. He's
No. I
always
understand.
sparring heavy fighters.
I understand that. I understand that. But yeah, it's just him move. Whereas before, when he's cutting weight, and he's probably sparring 1 month, 1 week. At week 6, he's sparring at one weight, and because he's cutting weight, week 4, week 5, week 3, he's cut that additional weight off, and he's moving more. But like you said, that's his walking around weight. He prepared. He's very, very well prepared. And that's another thing that somebody else pointed out to me, man. Bomac and the other, I believe is the Mexican, the number 2 in the camp, man. Um, those guys do an excellent, excellent job of getting him prepared. Obviously, him being a very, very talented fighter, probably an all-time great level guy helps. But the preparation that those guys put into these fights, man, it really, really shows. I mean, these guys, Terrence Crawford is a very well prepared guy, and you could see when I watched the fight the second time yesterday, when I could clearly hear the instructions in the corner, the level of instruction, the nature of the instruction being given by Bomac and what Eddie Reynoso was telling Canelo Alvarez is two totally different things. Eddie Reynoso is not an in-ring type of. He's not a guy that can give you good instructions. He can't make adjustments. He's telling Canelo stuff about his body mechanics in there during one of the rounds, and I'm like, yo, you don't need to be telling. If you need to tell this guy how to throw a hard straight right hand at this point, we're in round 7 of a championship level fight. Something's gone wrong, man. And these guys, if Canelo Alvarez wants to continue to fight, I mean, the dangerous fights, not the John Ryders and the Belangas. If he wants to fight dangerous fights from here on out, he needs to add somebody into his camp. He cannot continue to go forward with
But
Eddie
boss,
Reynoso
let's hold
fighting
that thought.
dangerous fights.
But let's talk, we don't want because that kind of dives into a little bit of our other content. But I want to end the session to kind of quickly talk about some of my reaction to the fight. And if anything surprised me, um, maybe I was a little bit generous. I was betting, but I gave Canelo at least 4 rounds. I didn't kind of store, but I know that some of the earlier rounds, Coach and I were kind of disagreeing on, but there wasn't a lot to kind of choose between those rounds. I think a lot of it was kind of what you liked a little bit more. But the thing that did surprise me is that Canelo did not fight the bigger man fight. So we talked about him hitting on the shoulder, doing this and all this other stuff. Canelo was trying to just have a chess match and then have a kind of a boxing match with a guy that's smaller. I'm like, yeah, that guy's gonna have just some natural advantages, being a little bit quicker. And to me, even though he's older, the fresher fighter, but um, and this has never really kind of been part of his game, which might hurt some of his ranking in all times. But rough that guy up, man. Hit him on his arm, grab him. When you got him in the corner, it doesn't even just rough him up, make him feel you. And one of the things I say is that with Crawford shows it, and especially Mayweather, I don't think anybody really did a better job than Mayweather, kind of compared to like Pacquiao. Pacquiao, similar to Canelo, basically has one way that they kind of fight. They add weapons and evolve, but Mayweather can fight Ricky Hatton one way and then come back and fight Oscar De La Hoya like a different way. He has different styles. He morphs, he whatever is needed. And Canelo is just kind of no, like no, I'm doing this. This is what I've done. I'm a good counter puncher. And that inability, that reluctance cost him. And when you think about it, is anytime Canelo stepped up, particularly when it came to fighting a master boxer, um, he got beat soundly. Like it's not even close. Like you look at the Mayweather fight, the Bivol and the Crawford is just like, yeah, it's levels. It's just like we can kind of talk about it. But anytime he stepped up, when it comes to fighting a master boxer, he has been dominated. So we're gonna wrap this up. Any closing words before we kind of move on? Well, we're gonna talk about it.
I will say one thing. You
Go ahead.
you had mentioned him trying to rough him up and be physical. He tried a couple times, Cam, and Canelo found out the hard way. We've mentioned this before about
Hmm.
Bud's wrestling background, this, that, and the third. There
Yeah,
was one time where Bud had a double underhook, and
yeah.
Yeah.
Canelo tried to, and Bud felt that shift in body weight, and he tilted that shoulder up and put Canelo on one leg and walked him right into the ropes. And that said, to me, a very, very small thing, and I might be
No,
making
no,
too big
no.
of
That's
fun of him.
that's not small at
That,
all.
that,
If
that,
you're in the
cause
ring, that's not a small thing at all.
no, not when everyone's been telling you the bigger guy and this guy's a smaller guy. Because I've been in there with these little ass judo guys and aikido guys, and the way they can sit there and do certain shit with your leverage and shit, that shit fucks with you. And that shit fucked with Canelo when Bud did that. He tried to grab him and do so. He could feel Bud's strength, that wiry wrestler strength.
No, everybody. I said you can kind of
Yeah,
see it on
yeah.
people's face every time they fight him. They're just like, oh,
Yep. They
I,
say, nah,
I
I'm not
see it.
doing
I see.
this.
Okay. All right,
And
coach.
he go ahead,
Yeah,
Coach
yeah.
James. Sorry.
Yeah, yeah, man. No. Only closing remarks, to me would be, it's simply called boxing for a reason.
All right, there it is.